Hello, everyone, and welcome back to I'll Watch What They're Watching, where we're curious and adamant about cinema. I am one of your hosts. I'm Kyrie.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're doing another one of our AvC charts. Typically, we kind of do a little bit of a, here's what's in theaters, or here's what we've watched lately. But, long story short, we're recording this like 2 days after our last recording, so I have not had time to watch anything other than the movies that we're going to be talking about on the AvC charts.
Yeah. I think the only update we have is, well, it'll be a funny update again because this is releasing after, but End of Oak Street looks like people are liking it.
Yeah.
So I think I'll try to go check that one out and I'll report back. But it looks like it's pretty decent. So Anne Hathaway and dinosaurs seems like a hit.
I mean, and I love me some Ewan McGregor. So I'm like, we got Ewan McGregor, we got Anne Hathaway, we've got a cat and a dog, and I did look. Neither of them die. Because I was like, we're not going to see this movie if either the cat or the dog don't come out of it. So I did look it up. I was like, I cannot confirm the humans because I want that to be a surprise, but I was like, we're going to make sure both the cat and the dog live.
That's perfect. I'm glad you did that for your... I won't be worrying either, I guess, so that's good.
There we go. But yeah, AvC charts. Adam, do you want to kind of tell... So Adam picked this month. Do you want to kind of tell, I guess, how you came to this pairing and what the movies are, so on and so forth?
Absolutely. I think for me, I missed some of our episodes that were like a very strong themed of arts versus charts. Not that they haven't been, but I miss talking about like the thing they have in common together and kind of like what's an effective way to depict that in film and what are these films trying to say. And so I really wanted to watch Do the Right Thing, and I knew that it had like elements of racial tension. I didn't know much about it other than that. And so I looked at some different options of what we could do. I also realized it was a one-day thing, so like that was part of it. So Fruitvale Station, Ryan Coogler's first film that depicts a real-life event of, you know, a similar situation of a black man being killed by cops. So I was kind of going a couple different ways, and then I looked on Letterboxd, and the very first movie that says like similar movies or watch movies like this was Crash. And I had a morbid curiosity of what Crash was because it's often stated as like the worst Oscar winner of all time. I knew that Sandra Bullock was in it. I think part of me, isn't she also in a movie called like Speed where she has to like drive a truck a certain miles?
Yeah,
certain mile per hour.
Yes,
Speed,
I think
right?
it is called Speed.
So I think I always confused Crash with that movie. So like I thought that that's what Crash was.
Makes sense.
And so then, I mean, yeah, Crash, Speed, Sandra Bullock, pretty easy to make that. So racial tensions, I was like, I didn't know that was what Crash was about. And so I thought, well, we did also just cover Brokeback Mountain, which was the one that people say should have won against Crash. So I thought, let's do it. Let's talk about Crash and Do the Right Thing. And honestly, my expectation going into it was I thought I would think, it's not as bad as people think. Like, it's still not a good winner, but you know, it's got some good qualities. And I can't tell you in adequate words how wrong I was and what a journey we will go on today.
Yeah, because originally you messaged me and you were like, hey, I'm going to do the Right Thing and Training Day. And I was super excited that you picked Do the Right Thing because that's been on my watch list for forever. I almost got it at the most recent Criterion sale. There's been several times I've almost gotten it at the Criterion sale. Like, I was super, super excited for it and knew next to nothing about Training Day. And then like a day or two later, you were like, hey, watch Do the Right Thing first. And I was like, okay, sure. And I want to say later that day or the next day, you were like, hey, I'm scrapping Training Day. We're going to go with Crash. And kind of a similar thing. I had heard this is, you know, one of the all-time worst Best Picture winners. I've heard about people who had Oscar parties this year and just the uproar that it caused when Brokeback didn't win and Crash did. To the point, I think I even saw the writer-director of Crash was basically like, this was not the best movie of this year. But yeah, I do think I had lower expectations than you did. But yeah, I don't know.
I even forgot that I was even thinking about Training Day, just because Crash. All I could think about is Crash. Since I've seen this movie, all I can think about is this movie. But yeah, it was like Training Day is just one I want to watch. I don't know how well it would have fit into the theme.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where my head was going with this one.
Yeah. But I know typically we start with the charts, and I think, I don't know if we can say Crash is charts, but I think we can definitely say that out of the two of them, Do the Right Thing is arts. So do we want to start with Crash?
No, I think we start with Do the Right Thing.
We'll start with the good one.
Which is, I think it'll be good because it's like that's the order we both watch this in.
Okay.
And so I think it's a valid way to approach this movie.
Yeah, glad you agree.
Yeah, so let's walk through Do the Right Thing, which again is one that I've really wanted to see. Mm-hmm. Was highest to lowest your first Spike Lee film?
Shoot. I want to say no, but it might be.
Okay.
I think the first one I've seen all the way through, because I know for sure I've seen pieces of Da 5 Bloods. I've seen pieces of Black Klansman. I've seen pieces of, what's it called? One of his earlier ones, Jungle Fever.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think highest to lowest, that actually kind of makes me sad because he's got some bangers on this list. So that
and it's a funny, because, and he also, we talked about this in that episode. He did an Old Boy remake that also wasn't very good. And so I think both of us were kind of like, oh, okay, wish we had a better, taste of who Spike Lee is, because he is such a prominent director, modern and back in the 80s, 90s growing up. And I think for me, being a big sports fan, everyone knows who Spike Lee is, sitting courtside at all the Knicks games. Knicks just won the championship, so that's kind of been a big deal lately. So, which again, after seeing this movie, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I get Spike Lee 100%. So much more after watching this movie.
Yep.
So anyways, this is his third movie. So he had... She's Gotta Have It in School Days before this. This was written and directed by him, and I didn't know this. I didn't know he acted at all, actually. So starring him as well. He's the lead in here.
I knew that.
I had no idea. And he's great. He's a great lead actor. I was really kind of taken away by that.
I would say I do think he is, and this is not necessarily a slam on Spike Lee, as much as it is just an admiration of the rest of the cast. I do think he is one of the weaker actors in the ensemble.
I don't disagree with that statement, but my statement was I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed him doing what he was doing, and I did not expect it at all. So I did read a little bit more about the background of it. Obviously, we always spoil the arts versus charts, so
yes,
I really highly recommend watching this one, though. I don't know that it's really, like, if you get to what happens, I don't know that it's really a spoiler to know it beforehand.
Yeah.
But anyways, I read a little bit of the background of it, and which totally comes across. And I said this to you a couple different times. This movie feels very, very present as far as the like politics and theming of what it's kind of saying. And that aspect is really disappointing, I guess, that it is relevant, that you would hope that things would be better over time, which I think in some aspects they do get better and are better.
Yeah, because I actually have something to say to that. I was listening to an interview with Spike Lee, and that's kind of what someone said, is they were like, is it depressing seeing that this movie is so prevalent now? And one of the things he said is, he goes, yeah, on the one hand, some things haven't changed, and that's frustrating. On the other hand, he goes, I don't think anyone, me included, ever thought we would have an African-American president. So he basically was kind of like, there is progress, and I think it's important because I think sometimes with social commentary and political commentary, I tend to get very depressed and almost even panicky because I'm just like, okay, well, are we never improving?
Sure,
And
sure.
so it was good to have him kind of be like, on the one hand, yes, it is frustrating that it's, however many years later and we are, 30 years later and we are still, or almost 40 years later, and we're still grappling with things like this. But when we do look at it and reflect it, like there is progress being made. And I think it's important to recognize both that there is progress and there also is still so much work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what makes movies like this so magical is to like put these things just like it just like things click, I think sometimes when you watch movies like this of like, oh wow, I didn't think of it in that way, or like, wow, that is such a powerful way to understand someone's struggle. Which, we've said those types of things a million times. But anyways, back to my kind of talking about the development of this.
Yeah.
It was based essentially on real life incidents that happened. And it was actually a lot of conversations that he had with Robert De Niro that he was talking through just different things that happened. And he had this idea. And Robert De Niro was like, well, make the movie. And so he wrote the script, said he wrote it in 2 weeks. Was gonna cast Robert De Niro as the Sal. Ultimately, Robert De Niro recommended that he cast Danny Aiello. So he cast Danny Aiello, who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in this, which is so it's like it's a funny thing because it's like he gives a great performance. He does a great job.
Totally.
But for him to get the only acting nomination in a movie so much about the Black experience is like, okay, like, Samuel L. Jackson or Giancarlo Esposito or, shoot, I didn't look up his name.
Giancarlo Esposito was so freaking good. Like, Giancarlo Esposito was really, really good. Ozzie Davis as the mayor was so good.
Oh, yeah, Ozzie Davis.
What's her name? Who plays his girlfriend? Rosie Perez. Like, there's just so many that I'm like...
Bill Nunn plays the radio guy, I think. Or the DJ guy. So, yeah, it's like one of those things that you're like, we'll get more into it when we talk through Crash, but it is like, okay, let's rewind that a little bit and think through this nomination process.
Because Spike Lee didn't even get a director nomination, did he?
I don't think
so.
No,
it was Daniel. He got screenplay. He got a screenplay nomination, but he got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Director, but didn't get an Oscar nomination. Yeah, I'm with you. When I was kind of looking at the awards and stuff, I was just like, are you kidding me?
So, yeah, it's kind of like when Ryan Gosling got the nomination for Barbie. It was like, no, you missed the point.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, too. Because I also did a lot more research on this movie than Crash because I really liked this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie came out the same year as Glory and Driving Miss Daisy. And Driving Miss Daisy is pretty much the thing that swept the Oscars. So it got Best Picture, Jessica Tandy won, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Makeup, and then Morgan Freeman was nominated, Dan Aykroyd, Art Direction, Costume Design, and Film Editing. And it's just one of those things that the speculation is kind of like, maybe that was, and that's why I say this is speculation. I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but the speculation is that maybe something like Driving Miss Daisy, because it is a little bit more white savior, that was the racial movie that was more palatable for general white American audiences.
Yeah, again, you're not putting any words in people's mouths, but it's probably, you watch this movie, you watch Driving Miss Daisy, and it's like, all right, come on.
Yeah. Because there's so much, just the commentary and stuff aside, there are things about this movie that I'm like, I'm sorry, like Driving Miss Daisy got set direction. How did this movie not get a nomination for set direction?
I know.
Because the set direction is incredible. The murals and what they actually shot this on a block in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it feels like, so alive.
so alive, so natural, so lived in. The editing and the cinematography as well, like the color palette in this movie. I think I was thinking a lot about the color palette because I had mentioned I just watched the movie Hero, and Hero does this really cool thing where like they tell a story in different kind of viewpoints almost, and
Sure.
there's different different colors at the forefront in every perspective,
Very
basically.
cool.
Really, really cool. So it's not just like a red filter. It's like, no, the walls are red, the dresses are red, the clothing is red. It's really cool. Really, really cool. So I think color palette and the use of color was kind of forefront in my mind. And so watching this, like seeing, they call it the hottest day of the year. There's lots of yellows and oranges and red. That heat feels oppressive. And but it also feels like vibrant and lively and yeah, just full of color and life. And that also, I'm just like, and the camera angles, I don't know, just like the cinematography and the editing, both in this movie, I was just incredibly impressed by.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that I watch, and like the only thing I can think of is like, wow, how lucky we are to have people that just get it, that just have like this
Yes.
vision to bring something for us to see, and just like, wow, humans are so cool. And I feel so lucky to be able to watch this, interpretation, this slice of life of what's going on. Because that's what the majority of this movie is just like a
Yeah.
day and just like people just going about this day. And so it feels very slice of life. It feels very fun and energetic and like,
It's very almost disarming, so
yeah,
that when the violence
funny.
does break out, it's shocking, it's jarring.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, I think probably intentionally almost like gives you like tastes of it, but then just like tells you
Mm,
to just kind of push it
mm.
aside and shrug it away. And you're like,
Yes.
no, I get it. I get it. And then, but then it gets to that point and you're like, wait a minute. We need to reframe kind of how this day went and like think about this for a second and think about the structural issues at play and why these
Mm.
different things are happening. So yeah, I think
Because
go ahead.
well, this movie is labeled on IMDb as a dark comedy, and I've talked about dark comedies before. Dark comedies for me are a little bit of they don't always hit with me, and I think
Mm-hmm.
because when I hear dark comedy, that's the thing is I'm like, it is almost like dark humor. Like it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, but also that's morbid. This movie is genuinely funny. Like
Yeah, and
you have these serious beats where someone's giving, where like they're talking about race or there's a little bit of tension, and then something else happens and it's really easy to brush off because you're just kind of, like I said, it's disarming. And like you said, it almost convinces you to brush off the moments where there is that tension, because the next moment you're laughing or you're just like, oh, look at Mookie and his sister kind of messing around. Like it's really easy to just get back to just sort of sitting back and watching it happen.
yeah. I think a perfect example of that is when there's the white guy with the Larry Bird jersey that comes in and he scuffs up Giancarlo Esposito's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And as Larry Bird, a white basketball player, like, where'd you grow up? It says
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, and they all go, ah. And like, it is a funny scene, but it works because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think the dark comedy element comes into place of like, it is a real issue he's kind of poking at, but he does it in a
Mm-hmm.
way that the message still gets across, and you can watch that and be
Yes.
like, yeah, that is kind of messed up that, he's in this
Yeah.
place. He grows up here and he chooses, you know, the one white guy because he's a white guy. And, I'm not
Right.
saying he chose it because he's a white guy, but like probably he did. And so I think that's where like it comes from a genuine, authentic, real place
Mm-hmm.
versus when other things try to do that, which we'll get into.
Yeah. Yes, we will. Yeah.
But no,
It
I
is.
I I agree with you 100%. Like every element of this movie is just hitting on all cylinders. The
There is not
music,
a false beat in this movie.
yeah, the music is top notch just to put you right into it, right into the theme. That main
Did you
song
know that?
from
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I was going to
Well,
say, you got it.
we were both going to share this fun fact, but that main song from Public Enemy was made for this movie.
Yes.
Everyone will
Which
recognize
is
it if
friggin'
you play
sweet.
it. Yeah, it's awesome. And so that's so cool. And like Spike Lee is just so cool. Which again makes me like you look at Highest to Lowest now and I'm like,
Yeah.
what
Again, it's
happened
one of
there?
those things where I look and I'm like, man, we screwed that one up, I think.
And there's
I feel bad was my first full exposure to Spike Lee, because the movie is fine, and I feel like now that I've seen this one, I can see elements
that's what I
of.
was gonna say. I'm like, I think I saw the vision at times. I think I understood it, but this certainly has a more personal and just
Yeah.
cohesive touch throughout. That's like, yeah, this is a Spike Lee joint. I love what I'm watching here.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to know your thoughts on what did you think of the two quotes at the end. So just for the listeners, it's right at the end of the film. Again, spoilers, but there's violence that explodes at the end of the film. There's some police brutality, but then also a riot, basically. And the movie, fade to black at the very end. There's some resolution stuff after the riot, but fade to black. And then there's a quote by Martin Luther King that's basically like, violence is not the answer. And then there's a quote by Malcolm X that is, again, not trying to put words in these people's mouths, but my interpretation of the first one was, hey, violence is not the answer. There's other ways. And Malcolm X almost seemed to be like, I don't condone violence, but sometimes we're pushed to do what's necessary.
Yeah, I'm getting chills just thinking about it because I think
Me too.
like it's so rare for a movie to like depict a struggle between paths so well. And in a way that I think, regardless of how you came into the movie, of like, I know you've talked about being a pacifist, and I think in general I feel the same way, versus people that are like, tend to lean more violent and that type of thing. And I think this movie takes both sides of that in a way and makes both sides think about it, makes both sides kind of consider their position a little bit. So that's kind of where I felt when I came into this. I'll get into another piece of that in a second after you share a little bit about the quotes.
Yeah, because I was literally about to say I am more of a pacifist, but I also, and I can't speak to, the lived experience of a person of color. I'm not, but I can, as someone who's part of the LGBTQ plus community, I can speak to just what it is like to feel discrimination. And it's one of those things that I am more of a pacifist, but I have friends who are much more outspoken. And it is one of those things that as I've learned more about the start of Pride and what happened at Stonewall, I can't deny like the change in the impact that has occurred because of what happened at Stonewall. And again, I am not the type of I really have a hard time condoning violence in any way, shape, or form. But like, there is something powerful to protest. Like, and I think the movie does a really good job of not necessarily choosing a side. It's very much presenting both. And I think that's because when it showed the Martin Luther King Jr. quote, I was almost very at peace, because I was like, yes, that is the ideology that I agree with. Violence is never the answer. And then it fades and you see the Malcolm X quote. And then I was like, this was one of those things where I was like, I need to check myself a little bit, because I was like, I feel a little uncomfy.
Yeah.
And I think that is precisely the point.
Yeah.
Is that like, you are meant to, the movie is not necessarily taking a firm side. The movie is presenting these are the two sides, and is really kind of letting you just look at that.
Right. And I think what really resonated with me is, and this is one that like you see so much today from modern discourse about things of like, they shouldn't have protested that way. They shouldn't have, property. That's where I draw the line of breaking property, whatever. And I think what this does so well is it says, really, you draw the line of a black man was murdered, and you think that the property damage of a restaurant is a bigger deal than a black man being murdered. That it is an
Yep.
equivalent property versus
Yep.
someone's life is an equivalent measure. And so I think that's where obviously we weren't around when this movie first came out, but a couple of things I was reading of with Spike Lee is just like, so many it's called Do the Right Thing, and at one point the mayor kind of says do the right thing, and so people say ask Spike Lee, did Mookie do the right thing when he threw the trash can through Sal's windows? And Spike Lee says, only white people ask me that question.
Yeah.
Because was it the right thing for police to kill a black man? No, like, of
Yeah.
course not. And so that's where I like that framing for me became so powerful. And like, that's where the microaggressions and like the systemic issues at play of like Sal, you can kind of see where his issues lie throughout the movie versus
Yeah.
like him trying to make it as a businessman or whatever. So yeah, I think that it does it gets that message across so beautifully of like, you this isn't an equal equivalence, but obviously events leading up to that similar thing, and it goes back to the quotes and everything along those lines. So like I said, I think just this is a movie. This is doing everything.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Because I was going to share that story as well. You beat me to it, but I think you said it more eloquently than I think I would have, because I do think that's very interesting that it's not necessarily did Mookie do the right thing. It's more of just did anyone do the right thing?
Yeah,
What is the right thing in that situation?
right.
Because, I mean, yeah, you look at the most obvious example is, well, did Mookie do the right thing in starting the damage, but did the police do the right thing? But also, like, did Sal do the right thing
Right.
by, smashing Radio Raheem's boombox? Did he do the right thing kicking bugging out? Did he do the... Because I feel like
Did he
there's
do the
moments
right
where
thing even being there, being in the community?
Right. And Sal is so interesting because I feel like the actor does do a really good job of showing like the softer side to Sal. Like you kind of want to root for Sal. He talks about how, this neighborhood grew up on his food. He has a love and an affection for this neighborhood and this community. But then he is saying racial slurs. And that was actually an argument that they had. The actor was like, I don't feel like Sal's character would say that. And Spike Lee was like, he's still racist. Like, and so that it's just so interesting because he, on the one hand, you see him being kind of, sweet and caring and trying to help his son Pino, not be such
Right.
a douchebag. But then he is still saying racial slurs, and like he doesn't ever really stop Pino from saying things and doing things. And like he says, Mookie, you're like a son to me. But I don't know. It's just
Yeah, and
so
no, you're exactly right, and I think it plays to a really strong point of like you can't just be passive, like you have to be
right.
like outwardly anti-racist, especially in a situation like that. Like you can't just be there like trying to keep the peace. Like you have to be actively doing, like you said, you got to
Yeah.
be. So yeah, I think the politics are really, really. There's a lot you can kind of look at and kind of dissect a little bit. It's just one of those opportunities where I think all the pieces came together really well to take these real issues and to, like you said, there's humor in this. There is like funny things going on, but then just to like really dissect it.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I don't think there is one false beat in the whole movie. I feel like it's one of those movies where just every piece of it seems to really click. It's something that I'm going to be really just mulling over for a while.
Yeah.
And it's a really powerful film. It is one of those that, like we kind of said in last week's episode, it's one that on the one hand, like, we want everyone to watch. We need people to understand that there's language in this.
Yeah.
But like it conveys a very powerful message in a way that is really artistic and in a way that is impactful. Again, and we'll get into this more when we talk about Crash next, but I don't like when movies spoon feed me like themes and messages, and I've said before that's a gripe I tend to have more with American cinema sometimes, where I'm just like, just give me the story and I will figure it out. Because I said this kind of with the Ghost in the Shell episode. Like, Ghost in the Shell is very interested in presenting you like situations and questions and isn't overly interested in answering them. It's just kind of like, here, and think on that and figure it out. And I kind of feel like that's what Do the Right Thing does. Well, on the one hand, yes, it is aggressively anti-racist, and it is very open in sharing with, the viewer the lives of the people of color in this community. But it's very, again, by sharing both the Martin Luther King Jr. quote and the Malcolm X quote, and then showing a picture of the two of them like smiling together. It is I feel like it's just sort of setting it in front of me and going, well, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
What do you think about it? And it's not overly interested in giving you a clean-cut answer. It's not interested in tying it in a bow and going, yep, here's this perfect spoon-fed solution to everything. It's very much just like, here it is. Here's what happened. Figure it out. And I like movies that make me do that.
Yeah. The other thing I read was that he actually had a much like deeper and more resolved reconciliation scene at the end between Sal and Mookie. And he doesn't give a lot of details about why he made it less so. But I find that interesting that he deliberately chose to make it a little bit more, not hostile, but like a little bit less of a reconciliation, more of just like going their separate ways. But again, like I said, I think that allows us to sort of sit with it in a way that has more staying power than like what you said of just like handing you what those themes and how you should think about it. It really, I think, and I think another thing is like, I think it gives you, it forces you to think about it, but I think it also gives you tools to like work through it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
I really love this movie, and I rate it
Totally
5 stars.
Agree. Yeah, honestly, same. Like 5-star film for me. I loved it. I'm excited to revisit it. I think it is just amazing.
So anyways,
Crash.
Let's crash into it.
You so beautifully explained some of the background of just Do the Right Thing, and now I get to explain. Is
there even any background, or did they just show up and just start doing stuff?
So written and directed by Paul. I don't know if it's Haggis or Haggis. He also
I gotta see what else he's done.
He hasn't directed a lot, but he also wrote $1 Million Baby, which, Oscar buzz there. I think he also wrote Casino Royale, which I find interesting.
That's really interesting.
But he also wrote Quantum of Solace, which is not as good. But so this movie came out in 2004, same year as Brokeback Mountain, and stars Don Cheadle, Sandra Bullock, and then it's very much this ensemble of characters. Yeah,
they're trying to do a Magnolia.
Yeah, I also saw a review on Letterboxd that was basically like it's like Love Actually. Like it's it's
Yeah.
doing this thing where it's like, here are all of these different stories and experiences, but oh, they're all interconnected. Isn't that cool?
I'll
But
say,
anyway, it's
let me just say one nice thing. One nice thing. I like when movies play with the timeline. And so, like, it was kind of cool how they did that in this,
okay.
where it
I'll give you
starts
that.
off at a crime scene and then you actually get to that crime scene later in the movie. I like when movies
Mm-hmm.
do that, but boy.
Yeah, so I don't know. It basically just shows. So, whereas Do the Right Thing takes place in New York, this takes place in LA. It's very much also just a movie about racial injustice, racial tensions,
It's not
elements
even
of violence.
It's not even about, oh my gosh. It's basically the premise is every single person you know of every single race is one bad day away from committing a hate crime. That is the premise of this
Yes.
movie.
And
That's it.
like, here's the thing. I wanted to say this over text to you, but I was trying to figure out how to say it. The moment in the movie, very early on, where I was like, dear, here we go.
Can I guess
The
first?
way, sure.
Is it when Sandra Bullock is like, I I saw those two black men and I I was
Yep.
scared, but I'm not allowed to be because that's, politically incorrect or whatever she says.
Well, and then when she starts complaining about the locksmith, who is also a person of color, and anyway, it was during all of this when they're saying all of these things. What it reminded me of is, when like a kid starts learning how to swear and they start using swear words in ways that like are like like it sounds wrong and it's unnatural, and it's like you're just throwing in the word in there, but you don't really know like how
Yeah.
to use it or what it means. That is what this felt like. Whereas Do the Right Thing felt very lived in and natural. Every single line spoken by these people felt so unnatural. Like, it felt like there were just racial slurs in there and they didn't even know what they were saying, and they weren't exactly like it. Really, I was like, you're not using, like, you shouldn't be using those words anyway, but I'm like, you're also not really using them right. And the way you're saying it is unnatural and like jarring. And so they were saying these things, and it felt like, it almost felt like one of those movies, like one of those cheesy movies you watch when you're in like middle school or something about like, don't do drugs. Like, that's kind of what it was, is these characters are saying these things that you're like, no one talks like that.
Yeah.
People don't say that.
I also think it's like they collected every bad faith argument they could think of and just like put that all in. I texted you a Fox News fever dream. It genuinely feels like they're just saying these things. It's like, that is not reality. Like, that is just not real. And that's why we so
Yes.
intentionally said Do the Right Thing felt so real in so many ways. It's like, people don't talk like that. And like, you're just projecting
Yes.
because you think that you're not racist and you're fine. And so you think that, when people talk about structural racism and these issues, you think that, well, but look at these real statistics about black people and how they're not
Yeah.
being treated well. Like, it's just all bad faith arguments. It's all like the conversations that the two robbers have with each other. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
nobody talks like this. And especially
No one.
like, these two guys would not be talking like this. It is just unbelievably outrageous. And not only so, like, that's like all this movie is. And there's no
Yes.
plot. There's nothing going on. It's just like a
No.
collection of things, a collection of situations, again, where they can try to make this social commentary that is not reality. It's just not real.
Yes. It's basically just a series of events of like, look, this person's racist. Oh, and that person in the last story, here's them being racist. And
Yeah.
oh, you thought they were a bad person. They're actually a good person. And look at this person being racist. And it's just like, my gosh.
And also,
like, okay, we get it.
Yes, this cop did molest a woman, but did you know his father is sick? What? I don't care. Throw that guy in jail.
Well, and it's like, look at him being a hero later. And I'm like, okay.
I don't care. Throw him in jail.
What do we say? Like, yeah, I'm just like, great, he saved the woman's life. But like, he also, yeah, I don't know. It's like it's trying to make several arguments and doesn't really know what it's trying to say. Because, okay, for example, it's the one argument seems to be like, well, hurt people. So you can't ever, or like walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Like, you never know what someone else is going through. But it does that in really weird ways. Because on the one hand, you have the locksmith guy who, you know, the Sandra Bullock's character says he looks like he's an ex-con. And you see that he's actually this really sweet family man. And then similar thing, you think that this cop is a corrupt, racist cop, but then you see that his dad is sick. And like, that's the thing is I'm like, this is a very weird, you're showing these two stories one right after the other. And the difference is the locksmith guy is not doing anything and is just vibing and doing his job, and people are racist towards him. And then
the cop is molesting people.
Right! Like, I'm like, locksmith dude is just chilling, and this cop is corrupt and abusing his power. So, like, I'm sorry, but I don't understand how or why I'm supposed to be empathetic towards this guy. And, like, I can also look at him and be like, I think it's great that he saved that woman. He's also a pig.
Yeah, this movie is just unbelievable. And I think it's the type of movie that like people watch and they're like, oh, yeah, you know, this stuff is really complex, and you know, everyone has their prejudices, and oh man, like what do we do? And you know, there's reality versus, you know, this thing that we're trying to, and it's just like, no, like this is just nonsense. Like these are false equivocations that you're making between these two things. You're taking these things way out of context. You're not talking about anything structural. You're not like,
No.
You're not good people in a lot of cases that you're trying to make me feel like's a good person. And like, what the heck? What are you doing? And also you're taking some stereotypes and really overblowing them, and really, I can't imagine the real world consequences of taking some of these stereotypes and showing them the way you're showing them. Like that is just irresponsible to do.
Yeah, it's just a baffling film. Well, and like, because like you said, the message seems to be, okay, like everyone is one bad day away from like committing a hate crime. I feel like what's so, and I mentioned this in Do the Right Thing, what's so kind of compelling and interesting about Sal is that you see his moments of, you see his soft heart, you see his sweetness, you see his goodness come through, which is part of why it's so hard then when he's throwing around these racial slurs, because it's like, dude, you, like, be better.
Mm-hmm.
Be better. Take a stand. Whereas this movie, like, I'm just like, okay, is everyone just racist? Like, yeah, is everyone just one bad experience away from a hate crime? Because, like, Do the Right Thing, it's basically like, hey, people are complex and they can be sweet and still be a racist and still allow horrible things to happen. This movie seems to almost be like, nope, everyone is super racist. And all it takes is one or two bad things with a bad person for people to start spouting racial slurs, or for people to want to start yelling at other people or commit a hate crime, and I'm just like, what?
And then it gives you,
I feel like
it gives you an ambiguous ending that's like, okay, like, do you want us to be better, or are you just telling us this is how it is now? You know, like, it's like,
right.
Okay.
But again, in contrast, Do the Right Thing is very much just like, here's some messages, here's some thoughts, grapple with that. Crash is almost like, I don't know. I almost feel like it's dumping gruel on my plate instead and just being like, that's what you get.
Right.
And in the sense that, like, it's not giving me anything to wrestle with, because Do the Right Thing, you felt connected to these characters, and these characters felt dynamic and three-dimensional, and you really had to kind of, grapple with, I keep using that word, but like, you really had to kind of come to terms with actions that characters took.
Right.
And I feel like in Crash, the characters are not dynamic. They're very one note. I don't feel like any of them show anything deeper other than, like, the Sandra Bullock character. It's just like privileged white racist woman.
Moving
okay,
on.
but like, what more is there to her? Why is she this way? What's going on? And I don't know. It's just, these characters all just felt so flat. And I feel like Don Cheadle's character was the one that was maybe trying the most to be like, well, how do you deal with reconciling sort of police brutality while also, are you going to become the change you want to see? But even that, it was still there were moments where he was spouting
I forgot about that
racial
plot line
slur.
where they made him lie about the coked up black cop that was shot by the white cop, because they're like, no, we got to put the white cop away. Or do you want another bad statistic and another bad story for you guys? And it was like, what the heck? Like, what is going on?
Because he also did something earlier, though, where he was like, yeah, I told my mom I was with a white girl. I would have told her you were Mexican, but, white pissed her off more. And the woman is like, I'm from, it was like the Dominican Republic in Puerto Rico or something like that. And she was, it was El Salvador.
Right.
And she was like, neither of those are Mexico. So, like, that's the thing, too, is I don't know. It seems to be almost saying, and like the good cop who then makes a bad judgment call later, like, I don't know. I don't feel like there is a single character in this movie that is redeemable. No, wait. The family family man.
What's
the locksmith guy?
Shoot, what's his name? He's in Ant-Man.
I know. I keep drawing a blank at his name, which is why I keep calling him the locksmith.
But
I will find him.
And that's what's frustrating, like, too, when the quote-unquote good cop eventually shoots him. It's like that whole scene was just uncharacteristic of this cop that we've met this whole movie. So it's like, he never would have been in that situation until he was forced to be in that situation by the script. It was like, what the heck? This doesn't make sense.
And again, I'm fine with movies. I'm so sorry. I'm still trying to find that guy's name. Michael Pena. Woo.
Yeah.
I'm fine with movies kind of ending on a kind of dour, depressing note. I mean, you and I have both seen Grave of the Fireflies, and we can talk about what an amazing movie that is. Like, I understand when a movie wants to end things on a downer to get across a message. This just feels like these characters were manhandled by the script to do things so that we as the audience would just be like, man, anyone can.
Yeah.
Can.
Outrageous.
I don't, it's just a mess.
Yeah.
And like, I don't find the characters compelling. I don't find the script interesting. I don't find, like, same thing with the editing and the camera angles. Like, nothing that they're doing, I'm like, that none of that is innovative. None of that's new. In the way that, like, Do the Right Thing, I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, I agree that Do the Right Thing was really fresh and unique, but I think Crash, I felt like this seems like it's not necessarily new or innovative, but it feels well polished, I would say, as far as
okay, I'll give you that.
That technical aspect of it. But I agree with you that it's nothing really outstanding to really move the needle anyway. So anyways, Kyrie, I have a task for you.
Okay.
This is an outrageous movie, and I would like to read you 5 outrageous things that happen, and I need you to order them from least outrageous to most outrageous of what happens. So your options are: first, the abusive cop that molested a woman being the first responder at the accident. You have Don Cheadle's brother being revealed as the boy that is murdered at the end. You have the little girl, Michael Pena's daughter, running up to him and being shot, but oh wait, the gun didn't go off. She wasn't shot. You have the good cop shooting Don Cheadle's brother. And you have the Vietnamese man that was run over that was actually doing human trafficking.
How am I supposed to? I don't know.
Or just tell me which one you think was the most outrageous. I got two that I think dive.
I think the Don Cheadle brother made me roll my eyes.
So I had that reaction when the bad cop arrived at this, or when she got in the accident, I immediately rolled my eyes. So I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen.
But I feel like the things where I was genuinely like, what is happening was because the little girl stopping the gun from going off. I was so relieved that she just that she was okay, that I was like, that's fine. Oh, we find out that those bullets are actually blanks. That's fine.
That was the one
I'm
that
happy.
My jaw dropped, that I was like, that was one of the stupidest things I have ever seen in a movie. That was outrageous. I was happy.
Again, I did not want
like
the little
the dramatic
girl to
running over, Daddy! And then like, oh my, I couldn't even think of what was sillier, if she had actually been shot or that the way it played out. I was just like, I couldn't believe what was happening. I just couldn't believe it.
Because did you get that you saw later that the bullets she bought were blanks, and that's why it didn't go off?
No, I never caught that.
Yeah, so it shows later when he's telling his daughter that he shot, but nothing happened. You see the bullets that she got earlier in the shop where she was like, just give me the case of the red ones. It was blanks.
Okay. Doesn't make it any less ridiculous, but oh my goodness.
But now you at least have something semi-logical.
Yeah.
I think the good cop shooting Don Cheadle's brother made absolutely no sense.
No.
So that one was a ridiculous thing where I'm just like, this feels like a script manhandled something. But the Asian man who got run over and then you find out that he was... that was the one where I was just like, what?
What's the purpose of that? What are we doing? What are we doing? This is crazy. What message is that supposed to tell anybody about anything? It made no sense. It was absolutely bonkers. Just like, what? Like, this is insane. Oh my God.
I don't know what to say about this movie, just because it's so unnatural. The technical stuff, I think is fine. The script is a mess.
Yeah. Genuinely, and I don't mean this lightly, one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
It's a mess. It's a mess. Like, I don't know what else to say other than I was just watching it just being like, what?
Yeah. I have nothing to say about the Oscars that year. If you listen to this podcast, you know my thoughts on the Oscars. I generally really like it, and I think it does open up people like me to a wide variety of great movies that I wouldn't have otherwise sought out. But oh my gosh, what happened? This is insane. This is insane. So
yeah, anyway, yeah. So I don't know. We usually are like, hey, if you liked one, watch the other. I would say, if you like do the right thing, you don't need to see Crash.
No, and in fact,
just visit some of Spike Lee's other films.
Yes, actively avoid it at all costs if you like do the right thing. So,
well, Adam, what are we watching? The only thing I know for sure is
Andor.
We are
eventually
revving up to watch Andor. Yeah, we're still kind of trying to figure out the rest of the schedule coming up.
That'll come in a few weeks. I think we're also watching. We're gonna do one that's like lesser known movies. Kind of sharing a little bit about those. So watch lesser known movies you like, I guess, but we'll talk about those during that episode. But yeah, I would watch Andor right now because we'll talk about that pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, appreciate everyone that is listening. This was a fun episode. If you have any thoughts about it, if you've seen Crash, and need someone to just vent
Oh
to,
my gosh.
we are your people. So hit us up. And until next time.
Catch you later.